What if the thing you've been trying hardest to get rid of is actually something you need to thank? The people pleasing, the hyper independence, the need to be useful, the ability to walk into a room and know within 30 seconds who's upset, who needs something, who's uncomfortable, and what you need to do about it. The woman who never asks for help, the woman who can handle anything, the woman who keeps everybody laughing, the woman who says, "It's fine." Maybe you've spent years trying to stop being her. You've read the books, you've gone to therapy, you've listened to the podcasts, you've learned about boundaries and attachment and nervous systems and childhood wounds and all the things. And maybe you've asked yourself, why am I still like this? But what if that's the wrong question? What if instead of asking, why can't I get rid of her, we asked, what happened that made becoming her make sense? And then maybe an even bigger question, who are you when nobody needs you to be who you've always been? Because there comes a strange moment in healing when the version of you who got you here isn't necessarily the version of you who needs to take you forward. And I don't think the answer is to kill her off. I don't think she's fake. I don't think she's broken. And I don't think healing requires us to excavate our personalities until we discover some pristine, untouched, real self hiding underneath everything that ever happened to us. I think something much more interesting happens. We get to decide what comes with us. And that's what we're untangling today. Welcome back to the Liberated Lesbian Lounge. I'm Annie M. Henderson. Whether you've been here since episode 1 or this is the very first time we've met, I'm really glad you're here. Every week we untangle one invisible pattern that quietly shapes our lives, not so we can become someone new, but so we can come home to who we've always been. Because healing isn't fixing yourself, healing is remembering yourself. So, bring it in. Get comfortable. Take a big, deep breath, and let's untangle this together. Bring it in. Get comfortable. Take a breath. And let's untangle this together. Last week, we talked about guilt. And specifically, the question, did I violate my values or did I violate an old rule? We talked about the difference between guilt that asks us to repair something and guilt that shows up because we stopped following a rule we may not even believe anymore. But there's a question underneath those old rules that we didn't answer. Who did you have to become to live by them? Not just what did you learn to do, who did you learn to be? Because eventually, something you've done for a very long time can stop feeling like a behavior. It starts feeling like your personality, your identity. This is just who I am. And that's where today's conversation begins. Maybe you learned very young that being helpful got you approval. At first, helping was something you did. Then you became the helpful one. Maybe you learned that having needs disappointed people, so you stopped asking. At first, not asking was something you did. Then you became independent. Maybe you grew up around unpredictable emotions. You learned to notice everything, a change in someone's voice, a door closing a little harder than usual, the way someone's face changed, a silence that lasted 3 seconds too long. At first, reading the room was something you did. Then you became really intuitive. Maybe you discovered that humor could change the temperature of a room, so you got funny. Maybe competence got rewarded, so you became incredibly capable. Maybe achievement earned attention, so you became successful. Maybe being easygoing kept people close, so you became low maintenance. And eventually, you stopped remembering that any of these things were strategies. They were just you. And I want to be careful here because there's a tendency in healing spaces to take every good quality a person has, trace it back to some painful experience, and then declare, aha, trauma response. And suddenly we're sitting there wondering if we even genuinely like coffee, or if coffee is somehow an attachment wound. I don't think that's helpful because here's the complicated truth. You really might be independent. You really might be intuitive. You really might be generous. You really might be funny. You really might be incredibly competent. Those qualities can have history and still belong to you. The fact that something developed because you needed it doesn't make it fake. That's important. She was real. The caretaker was real. The good daughter was real. The wife was real. The woman who could handle everything was real. The woman who stayed quiet was real. The woman who made everyone laugh was real. The woman who learned to read the emotional temperature of a room before she ever checked in with herself was real. Those weren't fake versions of you. They were you under particular conditions. And now, maybe the conditions are changing. So perhaps the question isn't which one was the real me. Maybe the question is, who am I becoming under different conditions? This is where I want us to untangle something, because there's a difference between a quality you possess and a quality that possesses you. Take independence. Maybe independence is genuinely important to you. You like being capable. You like knowing you can take care of yourself. You value autonomy. Beautiful. Keep it up. But what happens when independence means I cannot ask for help? I cannot let someone see me struggle. I cannot receive without immediately paying it back. I cannot need anyone because needing someone gives them the ability to disappoint me. That's different. The question isn't, am I independent? The question becomes, can I choose when to be independent? And can I also choose connection or generosity? Maybe generosity is one of the most beautiful things about you. Keep it. But can you choose when to give? Or does someone's need automatically become your assignment? Can you say, I love you, and I can't do that today? Can generosity exist without self-erasure? Or sensitivity. Maybe you genuinely notice things other people miss. That's a gift. Keep it. But when someone's face changes, do you simply notice it? Or does your entire body immediately begin preparing to manage it? That's the distinction. Not, was this an adaptation, but do I still have choice? I think choice may be one of the clearest ways that we can tell whether something has become integrated wisdom or whether an old survival strategy is still running the show. Can I turn it on? Can I turn it off? Can I use it when it serves me without being compelled by it when it doesn't? Because healing doesn't have to mean I used to take care of everyone, so now I take care of no one. I used to say yes, so now I say no to everything. I used to accommodate people, so now nobody's feelings matter. I used to depend on other people's approval, so now I proudly announce that I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. That's not necessarily freedom. Sometimes that's just the pendulum swinging really hard in the other direction. Freedom is having options. And this is where things get deeper. Because changing a behavior is one thing. Changing an identity is another. Imagine you've been the strong one for 30 years. Everybody calls you when something goes wrong. You're calm. You're capable. You figure it out. You don't fall apart. And then you begin learning how to receive support. That sounds lovely until somebody actually tries to support you and suddenly you're uncomfortable. Because if I'm not the strong one, who am I? If I'm not needed, what makes me valuable? If I'm not fixing, what do I do with my hands? If I'm not taking care of everyone, what exactly is my job here? That can feel like an identity crisis. And sometimes I think we misinterpret that discomfort as evidence that we're doing healing wrong. We're not. We may simply be encountering space where an identity used to be. And space can feel terrifying because for years, the role told you who you were. The marriage told you. The church told you. Your family told you. Your job told you. Motherhood told you. Your relationship told you. Your sexuality may have been something you couldn't even fully name yet. So every other role got very loud. And then something changes. You leave. You come out. Your children grow up. You stop rescuing. You stop performing. You stop trying to make your mother understand. You leave the church. You change careers. You say, I don't want to do that anymore. And we imagine liberation will feel like trumpets, confetti, wind dramatically blowing through your hair. Sometimes it does. And sometimes liberation sounds like, now what? Because you removed the thing you were constantly responding to. And now there's space. So I want to ask you something. Who are you when nobody needs anything from you? Who are you when nobody is disappointed? Nobody is asking. Nobody is evaluating. Nobody needs convincing. Nobody needs rescuing. Nobody needs you to prove that you're good. What do you want when there's no audience? That's harder than it sounds, because sometimes we've spent so much time orienting toward other people that preference itself becomes unfamiliar. What restaurant do you want? I don't care. What do you want to watch? Whatever you want. Where do you want to go? I'm good with anything. What do you want your life to look like? Oh, that question is bigger because nobody else can answer it for you. And there's another complication. You might be ready to loosen an old identity while everyone around you still knows exactly who you're supposed to be. Family systems are very good at this. You walk into the house and suddenly you're 17 again. You can have 3 degrees, run a company, raise children, pay a mortgage, and somebody says one sentence at Thanksgiving, and your nervous system is like, cool, we're 14. Relationships develop choreography. One person does this, the other does that. You fix, they need, you accommodate, they decide, you listen, they talk, you soften, they escalate, you make peace. Then one person changes the dance and everybody notices. Sometimes they'll try to put you back in position. Not necessarily because they're malicious. Sometimes they genuinely love you. Sometimes they're scared. Sometimes your change requires them to change too. Sometimes they simply don't know how to relate to this version of you yet. They may need to relearn you. That's real. But sometimes someone really does prefer the version of you who required less from them. And that's real too. So when someone says, "This isn't you," I want you to become curious. Maybe they see something you don't. Listen, we're not above feedback, but also ask, do they know who I am? Or do they know who I've always been with them? Those aren't necessarily the same thing. And sometimes you've changed doesn't mean you've lost yourself. Sometimes someone has lost access to the version of you that worked best for them. And sometimes someone saying you've changed simply means I haven't learned this version of you yet. Both are possible. Discernment matters. This is where I want us to move from untangling into trust, because I do not want you leaving this episode suspicious of your entire personality. I don't want you walking around all afternoon thinking, do I actually like gardening? Or is this generational trauma? Please enjoy your tomatoes. The point isn't to distrust everything you've become. It's almost the opposite. I want you to look at the woman you had to become with enormous respect. She figured some shit out. She learned how to navigate the environment she was in. She learned how to belong. She learned how to protect herself. She learned how to keep going. And maybe she became funny. Maybe she became invisible. Maybe she became brilliant or useful or agreeable or tough. Maybe she became endlessly forgiving. And maybe she became someone nobody ever had to worry about. And whatever you think about those strategies now, there was probably a time when they made sense. That's why I keep coming back to this. People aren't broken. We become exactly who we need to become until we no longer need to. That sentence changes the question from what the hell is wrong with me to, oh, of course. Of course I learned this. Of course I do this. Of course my body reaches for this. Of course this feels uncomfortable. Understanding isn't permission to stay stuck, but compassion creates a much better place to change from than contempt. So let's talk about something. Let's talk about becoming. I want you to imagine you're packing for a trip. Not Cancun, although frankly, I support that. This is a different trip. You're leaving one version of your life and moving toward another. And there's a suitcase open in front of you. You don't have to pack everything, and you don't have to leave everything behind. You get to choose. Maybe you pick up your independence. Do you want it? Yeah, I do. Put it in. And maybe we leave behind, I must never need anyone. You pick up your sensitivity. Keep it? Absolutely. You notice people. You feel deeply. You see things. Put it in. But maybe we leave behind, every emotion I notice is mine to manage. Your generosity. Keep it. But leave, if I have something to give, I am obligated to give it. Your loyalty? Yes, keep it. But leave, love means staying no matter what. Your competence? Oh, we're definitely keeping that. But maybe we leave, if I can't handle everything alone, I'm failing. Your humor? Please pack the humor. We're going to need it. But maybe humor doesn't have to keep you from saying, actually, that hurt. Your ability to read a room. Maybe we keep the awareness and leave the responsibility. Do you see what's happening? We're not amputating the adaptation. We're giving it choice. And I think that might be one of the most beautiful definitions of healings I know. Healing isn't always about getting rid of who you had to become. Sometimes it's giving her choices she didn't have when she became her. That's becoming. And I want to do something with you. If you're driving, eyes open, please continue operating the vehicle. But if you're somewhere safe, settle into wherever you are. Maybe put your feet on the floor. Maybe place a hand somewhere on your body that feels grounding. Chest, stomach, leg, wherever. Take a breath. And I want you to think about the woman you were 5 years ago. Don't analyze her. Just see what comes. How did she dress? What did she worry about? What did she spend her energy on? What was she trying to hold together? Now, 10 years ago, who was she? What did she believe? What couldn't she say yet? What did she not even know yet? And if it feels right, go farther. 20 years, maybe 30, maybe you see a little girl. And here's what I want you not to do. Don't look at her through everything you know now. Don't stand over her with hindsight, judging the decisions she made without information she didn't have. Look at what she knew. Look at what she was carrying. Look at what she believed her options were. Look at what she was trying to protect. Maybe belonging, maybe family, maybe safety or love or identity, maybe someone else's feelings, maybe her faith, maybe simply the life she had been told she was supposed to want. And notice who she became. Maybe you feel tenderness or irritation or grief or gratitude, maybe nothing. All of that is okay. Now imagine sitting beside her, not fixing her, not teaching her, not telling her what's going to happen, just sitting beside her. And ask her, what did you become that I don't need anymore. Don't force an answer. Maybe something comes. Maybe it doesn't. And then ask her another question. This one matters. What did you become that you hope I never lose? Maybe she says your tenderness, your fire, your humor, your curiosity, your softness, your stubbornness, your ability to begin again, your ability to survive, your hope, your audacity, your weirdness, your joy. Whatever comes, let it come. And maybe, if it feels right, tell her, thank you. Thank you for getting me here. You don't have to do it all alone anymore. But I'm not leaving you behind. We're just going to have more choices now. And take another breath. And when you're ready, come back. There's one more thing I want to leave you with. We talk a lot about finding your authentic self, and I understand what we mean, but sometimes I wonder if we make authenticity sound like an archaeological dig, like somewhere underneath the marriage and the church and the family and the trauma and the expectations and the people-pleasing, there's one pristine little authentic woman buried underground. And if we just remove enough dirt, ta-da, there she is, the real you. I don't know that I believe that anymore, because everything you've lived has shaped you. Every person you've loved, every mistake, every heartbreak, every place you've belonged, every place you didn't, every version of yourself. Maybe authenticity isn't finding the one version of you that existed before life touched you. Maybe authenticity is becoming increasingly able to participate in who you are becoming. To say, this stays, this goes, this used to protect me, this still matters to me, this was someone else's rule, this is mine, this is something I inherited, this is something I'm choosing. Maybe becoming isn't discovery alone. Maybe it's creation. And maybe that's why freedom can feel so strange, because suddenly you have choices. And if you're listening to this thinking, I genuinely don't know what's me anymore, I want you to know that's not an unusual place to find yourself when a life changes. Especially after leaving a relationship or about to, coming out, changing a relationship with family, questioning faith, changing careers, having children leave home, or simply realizing, I don't want to keep living this way that I've been living. Sometimes the work isn't figuring out what you're supposed to become. It's creating enough space that you can finally hear what you want. That's a lot of what I love doing in one-on-one coaching. We aren't replacing one set of instructions with mine. I don't need you to become Annie's version of liberated. I want to help you hear you, your values and your body, your truth and your choices, and then practice living from there. And if that sounds like the season you're in, you can learn more about working with me at AMh&x.com. So, who are you when nobody needs you to be who you've always been? Maybe you don't know yet, and that's okay. You don't have to immediately fill the space. You don't need a new identity by Tuesday. You can let yourself become. And as you do, don't make the woman who got you here your enemy. She may have people-pleased. She may have stayed too long. She may have swallowed words. She may have made herself small. She may have done everything herself. She may have confused being needed with being loved. She may have abandoned herself sometimes because she didn't yet know another way to stay connected. But she also survived. She learned, she loved, she adapted, she carried you. People aren't broken. We become exactly who we need to become until we no longer need to. And when that day comes, we don't have to hate the woman we were. We get to give her more choices. Keep what is yours. Thank what protected you. Release what has finished its work. And then, with all that beautiful space you've made, ask yourself, who do I choose to become now? And next week, I think we need to talk about something that naturally follows this, because once you start making choices from who you are now, there's a very real possibility that somebody isn't going to understand them. And you might find yourself explaining and explaining and explaining, hoping that if you can just find the right words, they'll finally see what you see. They'll agree, they'll understand, they'll give you the thing you've been waiting for, permission. But what happens if they never understand? What if they never agree with your version of the story? What if they never give you closure? What if they never say, you know what? You were right. Can you still trust yourself when someone you love doesn't understand you? And that's where we're going next. But for today, bring it back here. You don't have to figure out every part of yourself. Just notice. Notice what feels chosen and what feels compulsory. Notice where you have options and where you still feel like you don't. And maybe when you notice an old version of yourself showing up this week, instead of saying, ugh, why am I still like this? Try, oh, there you are. Thank you. And we have more choices now. Keep untangling, keep trusting, and keep becoming. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this episode resonated with you, I'd be honored if you'd follow the show and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Until next time, keep untangling, keep trusting, and keep becoming.